The Department of Water and Sanitation has opened a fifth sluice gate at the Vaal Dam. The aim is to manage rapidly increasing water levels due to recent heavy rainfall. People living on the banks of the Vaal River have been warned to evacuate after that rise in water levels. Wisane Mavasa is the spokesperson for the Department of Water and Sanitation. Joining us on the phone this evening. Wisane, good evening to you. Thank you so much for being on The Full View. Speak to me about the situation currently. How high are those water levels?
Thank you for having me, and my apologies that I could only come through this line. Yes, indeed, the Vaal Dam is continuously increasing in terms of inflows from upstream. By midday today, it was at 111.5%, and the outflows have been kept at 760 cubic meters per second. However, this may be increased in terms of the outflow as we continue to assess and monitor these inflows that are coming through, so that we can effect necessary changes where and as when it's necessary within the Vaal River catchment.
So 111%, you said, was the level by this afternoon. What does that mean then? What are the implications in terms of the evacuation warning that you'd issued late on Sunday into this morning?
In the Vaal Dam, the first sluice gates remained opened, and as I've indicated, that the outflows also were contained at that level. However, in downstream, we continuously alerting and requesting or encouraging everyone who is within the floodline to evacuate and remove all their necessary or important equipment, as well as also remove all the infrastructure, even livestock, for those farmers, as the levels continue to rise along the dam. There are also inflows that are coming through some of the tributaries that are also increasing the levels that are causing the river banks to overtop, and as such, those that are within those flood lines may result as it being flooded, and they are required to speak to their local emergency services, the disaster management, as well as the local municipalities that should be assisting them to be able to provide them with recourse where they should be able to go, or where those that are able to move to higher levels without having to work with the disaster management needs to do so as a matter of urgency as the water are rising.
And with that in mind then, are people complying, and have we begun to see instances, for example, where people living along that potential floodline, let's call it that, where water has started to flow onto or into their properties?
Yes, indeed. From the reports that we are getting from the disaster management as well as emergency services, but also even the reports that we have been observing throughout the day from the media reports, is that the are those that even started evacuating as we've been communicating through the week when we had opened the third sluice gate, because they know that as we communicate the inflows that are coming from upstream, they can make a determination in terms of the levels at which that dam can rise and what will necessitate from our side to happen. So to be safe and ensure that they implement all the cautionary measures, they have been removing their equipment, they've been removing the infrastructure, but also picking up and evacuating in those properties that would have been located in areas that normally get flooded when we get to such situation. There are areas where people still believe that the banks are still at normal levels, that they do not need for them to evacuate. However, as a department, we would like to urge that to ensure that there is safety of life, they need to make sure that they put extra precautions and make sure, because we never know overnight what would happen in terms of levels rising, because this rain is continuously falling, and with the tributaries that are also contributing within the river, it may not necessarily be through the flows that are coming only from the dam, but also water that is coming through from the tributaries that may lead to resulting in some of this home being flooded. Also, those ones that are downstream, the Bloemhof Dam, the disaster management and the municipalities downstream are also working with those communities to start preparing to evacuate, because as by this evening, 7 o'clock, we had to actually increase. We had been staggering the increases for Bloemhof from 12 o'clock at noon today. from that 1,400 cubic meters to up to 2,000 cubic meters per second by 7 o'clock this evening, so as to ensure that as they move and the water level rises, everyone would have evacuated their areas.
Is this a life-threatening situation, Wisane?
For those that are in low-lying areas, yes, it is a life-threatening area because you can understand that even when you are driving in a normal road that gets flooded, your car can easily be taken off. If you are walking, you can easily be taken off and be taken through by the river flows. So this is indeed, water can be very dangerous, and because its conduct is unpredictable, we caution everyone to be very careful near water bodies at any given point, especially during heavy rain, because you never know what will be coming from upstream.
And what control do you as the authorities have in terms of managing the flow of water? You've now opened, I think, 5 sluice gates it is at the moment. What relief are they bringing? And to what extent are you able to manage the situation?
The inflows that are currently coming from upstream into the Vaal Dam is at about 1,002 cubic meters per second, and the outflows are at 760, and these are controlled flows that we are releasing from the dam. And if you can recall, we've not started automatically opening all the 5 gates same time. We started by opening the valve sometime early in March. The first gate was opened around 20th, and as we received more inflows, we had been staggering them and ensure that we increase in a controlled manner so as to make sure that the water that is coming into the dam is well managed and released accordingly, so that when the season is done, we remain with a dam full, but also with the infrastructure still intact and still in its integrity. So at the same time, while we are trying to protect the infrastructure, but also to ensure the dam to remain full, we also care about the human life that may be inhibiting the riverbanks downstream. That's why we are ensuring that we have early warning systems that are put in place to ensure that everyone are aware of this, and the recommendations of what needs to be done thereof within the short time that we may be having, because water is fluid.
Wisane, will continue to check in with you over the coming hours. Wisane Mavasa is the spokesperson for the Department of Water and Sanitation, talking to us about what's going on around the Vaal there, where evacuation warnings have now been issued.